I got this plane at a flea market before I knew much about them. It looked complete, had a pretty heavy patina on it. I thought I'd share some of the fun I had cleaning it up, tuning it up, and aging it. The only thing I can see on it is made in USA, and it looks like a C73. These parts are pretty small and not in very bad shape, so I think I'm just gonna clean them up sort of the old-fashioned way. Just get the surface schmutz off it. I don't really want to get them shiny or brand new or anything like that. I sanded both sides of this iron just to make sure there was nothing bizarre going on. It seems pretty flat. It's a little bit sharper than a butter knife at the moment, and it seems as though I'm not terribly close, 25 degrees. So it looks like I'm going to be removing an awful lot of material, and this whetstone is probably not the best tool to do it. I think I will go to the more aggressive grinder here. So when using a grinder like this from one amateur to another, I just recommend you go very, very slow. Be very careful. It's easy to overheat. It's easy to remove too much material. This is not a very good stone, not a very good grinder, but with this setup, which didn't cost me a fortune, I can get reasonable results. I want to make sure that I have a square edge here, that this is going perfectly at a right angle to the edge. And I'm still grinding at the very leading edge, which is telling me that I'm changing the angle, and I'm almost from the heel to the toe on this side of the grind, not so much on this side. When I check it with a square, I'm still doing okay, so I suspect I'm not quite removing enough material over here on the right side of the blade as you're looking at it. Just realize the right side of the blade, when you look at it this way, it's the left side of the blade when you look at it that way. I still haven't reached the very edge because this is not sharp at all. Well, it took me several more minutes, and I can definitely feel an edge up here. So I've ground all the way to the front edge and all the way down to the heel. I think I'm close enough. I can put this right at the spot where it feels like it's pretty flat. Pretty close. I put some Sharpie on the edge, dragged it across the sandpaper, and confirmed that I was indeed honing away the heel and the tip. So I'm pretty much right at 25 degrees. I'm now going to use my Japanese water stones to hone the edge. Well, here's the plane, and it looks great, but you know, I wanted to try a different look. To discuss that, I got a couple planes to illustrate. Here's a plane that I picked up. This plane looks like it sat in somebody's garage or basement or barn for a couple of decades, and I don't think this is a particularly attractive look, although it certainly is a cool looking plane. And on the other extreme, I have this Miller's Falls plane that I did a lot of shining up on. I've done a couple videos on it. This thing looks shiny and new, which is certainly an attractive look. You might be inclined to think that it's only a year or two old, which, you know, again, nothing wrong with the look. This is an old number 3, and this is a Type 7, and I just love the look of this. It has a beautiful gray on the iron and the steel and the metal, and it looks as though that this was on somebody's workbench and it was used and generally well cared for. And I just think this is a great look. Decided I was going to try to put a patina on it to make it look more like a well cared for user, like this guy. There are lots of ways to create a patina, and by far the easiest way is to get a patina in a bottle, something like this. And this stuff really works quite well. It puts a really dark black patina on iron and steel, and it takes about 60 to 90 seconds. I actually have a video on it. In lieu of painting something black, I use this instead, and it works quite well. But this has, from what I'm told, selenium in it, which creates the patina. And this wasn't quite the look that I was going for. So this orange flaky coating we all know as rust is a form of oxidation, and rust is usually the term used for iron and steel, even though other metals like bronze, aluminum, and copper also oxidize. We don't typically call that oxidation rust. And hematite is Fe2O3, and what's really bad about it is the crystal structure of hematite is dramatically different from the iron or steel underneath. And as the hematite forms, there's a lot of fissures in it, and the oxygen can penetrate down through the hematite and still reach the iron or steel underneath. So given enough time, this entire thing will rust away. In contrast, this black coating here is also a form of iron oxidation, and this is magnetite, which is Fe3O4. And the beauty of magnetite is that the crystal structure is very close to that of the iron underneath, so this actually forms a film that prevents further oxidation. The oxidation seals in the metal underneath and prevents it from oxidizing further. And this is very desirable. This is very undesirable. And what gunsmiths do is they try to put a coating like this on their iron and steel to stabilize it, make it somewhat durable, somewhat weather resistant. And the trick is you create the hematite and you turn it into magnetite. And from what I understand, that's done in a boiling water bath. The heat and the lack of oxygen helps the chemical conversion, so I'm going to test that theory. This one came off of my number 5 plane. You can still see a little bit of the hematite, but there's also a patina of magnetite, which is very nice. This is a very old one, untreated. I think this is the same thing, it just hasn't been cleaned up and oiled. And this guy came off of my Defiance, and I'm going to try to see if I can blacken that up a little bit more. Well, it may be a little premature to claim victory, but I'm really pleased with the way this came out. It's a lot more even and uniform. Very nice. So here's where I ended up. I liked the look, developed a technique or two, and I had a lot of fun. I appreciate you coming by and hope you had some fun as well. I have a bunch more videos in the works and would appreciate any feedback. Hey, always trying to make these things better, yeah? Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and feel free to like, pass this video on, and subscribe. And look out for me on the next one.